Everyone, good afternoon and welcome to our Surrey Board of Trade event with our guest of honor, the CEO of TransLink. Please give a great Surrey welcome to Kevin Quinn. I'm Anita Huberman. I'm President and CEO of the Surrey Board of Trade and Honorary Captain of the Royal Canadian Navy, and I thank all of you for being here. We know at the Surrey Board of Trade that transportation and education are the foundations of driving an economy, and everything else flows from there in terms of building our great city of Surrey. I would like to acknowledge that we are on the traditional and unceded territory of our Coast Salish peoples, specifically the Kwantlen, Katzie, Semiahmoo, Tawasin, Kaikut, Coquitlam, our Inuit, and our Métis peoples. They have a profound connection to the land and water that surrounds our great city of Surrey. We were just so honored, and actually we had this opportunity to give a donation to the Indian Residential School Society last week. We gave a donation of $2,500 towards that cause. And we all need to focus on economic reconciliation with our Indigenous communities. Surrey has the largest urban Indigenous population within British Columbia, and we all have a role to play in that economic Indigenous reconciliation. Of course, events at the Surrey Board of Trade would not be possible without sponsorship. Thank you so much to our presenting sponsor. A round of applause for ICBC. Our ongoing progress partners for the Surrey Board of Trade are BDC, the Business Development Bank of Canada, the law firm of Fasken, SNF Group Benefits, they are our Chamber of Commerce Group Insurance Plan partners, and Western Community College. Some special guests, government representatives in the audience. On behalf of Minister Bruce Ralston is Dominic D'Onofrio. He's here. On her way, I believe, is our Mayor of Surrey, Brenda Locke. She's on the way. And City of Surrey Councillor Linda Annis. Is she here? She's on the way as well. Thank you so much for being here and supporting the Surrey Board of Trade. As you all know, the Surrey Board of Trade, we support business, bring business into Surrey. We're one of the top 10 largest chambers of commerce, boards of trades in the country with a diversified service portfolio. And we're so excited about opening our second location next year, our Technology and Skills Center in our Tech District in Surrey. It is going to incubate major economic and technology initiatives and businesses. So stay tuned for that and more information to come. And I urge you to take a look at on our website at businessinsurrey.com for any of our upcoming programs and our services to elevate that entrepreneurial ecosystem in Surrey. Now, one other item that I wanted to mention is the great work being done by our Surrey Board of Trade Transportation and Infrastructure team. Our chair, Nikki Dhaliwal, is in the house. And over the past 17 years, this team has done amazing work. It is operationalized by staff, but as I mentioned, when it comes to air, rail, road, water, you name it, anything, we do it at the Surrey Board of Trade. So check out our transportation portal on our website, businessinsurrey.com, for all of our advocacy initiatives, our projects that we're working on. And thank you so much to all of the volunteers that are on that team. We know that in Surrey, we need to focus on transportation infrastructure as a critical piece of economic growth. And a critical city building partner in that is represented through our presenting sponsor, ICBC. David Wong, he's the new president and CEO of ICBC. He provides leadership and strategic direction to ensure affordable insurance, excellent customer experience, and products that offer among the best protection in Canada. Before joining ICBC, he held a number of roles, most recently as Executive Vice President, Finance Technology, Supply Chain, and Chief Financial Officer. We have a video for you to see on screen, and then David is going to come to the stage for a few remarks. To the screen, please.
Nice and safe. Just how we like it.
Smart move, boss. I'll keep him quiet. Nothing's gonna distract you.
Come on, people, ready to move? Car stopped? Walk with me.
Shoulder check's good. No rolling stops. We did it!
Safety takes everyone.
And David, over to you.
Thanks, everyone. And definitely safety does take everyone. That's our commercial about safety. And I just have to say the cone is one of our popular feature people out there, or feature characters out there. Just speaking of safety, on your table, you will see that you have feather reflectors. These are reflectors you can put on your coat or on your bag. I just encourage you to take it home with you and wear it, especially during these dark nights, so that we can all be safe on the roads. Thank you, Anita, very much, and the Surrey Board of Trade for having us here all together. And it's an honor to be on the traditional lands of the Katzie, Kwantlen, Kekwitlum, Kaikite, and Semiahmoo First Nations. This is actually my first Surrey Board of Trade meeting in this role, so I'm thrilled to be here. I go by the pronouns he, him, and as Kevin knows, I am a very proud owner of a Compass card and monthly pass holder for TransLink. So, when thinking about, and we talked a lot about population growth, particularly in Metro Vancouver and in Surrey, I know that TransLink's 3 new rapid transit bus corridors are really going to be important to connecting communities. So we all have a role to play in supporting population growth, particularly in this area. And I just want to say that ICBC is also part of that. And we are going to be expanding our driver's licensing services here in Surrey. And soon we'll be announcing an expanded driver's licensing office here in Guildford area. And there'll be more information about that on Monday, but it's very close to us, just as a secret there. As we said, road safety is really important. ICBC is supportive of road safety infrastructure. We have invested since 1990 $225 million on 8,800 road improvement projects throughout this province. 570 of those have been here in Surrey. And we are committed to ensuring safe roads for drivers, cyclists, and pedestrians. And I know TransLink has a big importance of safety on that and for their customers and employees as well. And so I'm really proud here to be here to introduce our keynote speaker, Kevin Quinn. Kevin is the Chief Executive Officer of TransLink, Metro Vancouver's award-winning transit authority. Kevin oversees management, planning, finance, growth, and delivery of our bus services, SkyTrain, C-Bus, Handy Darts, and West Coast Express Transit. He serves on the board of the American Public Transportation Authority, and him and I are also part of the President's Group, which is a group of executives supporting an accessible and inclusive workplace. Kevin holds a master's degree in public policy from Johns Hopkins University and has been recognized as one of the Mass Transit Magazine's top 40 under 40 transit professionals. I know Kevin has a great vision of the future. I really look forward to hearing about it. One thing that really impacts me is Kevin's always going out to customers and listening to see how you can make TransLink better for all of us. And so I think when I thought about hearing about Transit 2050, I've been impressed, and I think you will all be impressed by what TransLink has for you in the future. So I'd love to have you come up, Kevin, and welcome you to the stage here.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. And David, thank you so much for that kind introduction and for your monthly pass revenue. It's important to have. We'll talk more about that, I promise. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you again so much for that warm welcome. And I do just want to take a moment to thank Anita and the entire team at the Surrey Board of Trade for putting together this great event. As you all know, there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes to put these events together. So let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you. I also want to take a moment to recognize Mayor Brenda Locke, who just joined us. So Mayor Locke, thank you so much for being here. Let's give Mayor Locke a round of applause. Yeah, thank you. She serves on our Mayor's Council for Regional Transportation and is a great proponent and advocate for increased transportation options in Surrey. So thank you. Last time I was here, oh my gosh, we were still in the thick of the pandemic, and our ridership was around, 60% of pre-COVID levels, and we fast forward to today, and oh my goodness, things look very, very different, as I'm sure they do for many of you in your worlds. And one of the big things that's changed is our ridership. I'm really proud to share that while Metro Vancouver ranks 22nd in population and in Canada and the US, our SkyTrain system is the 4th busiest rapid rail system, ahead of major cities like Chicago, Washington, D.C., and Los Angeles. I think that's pretty incredible. Another thing that's changed is that our bus ridership is the 3rd highest of transit operators in Canada and the U.S. Our bus ridership is booming. And each week, roughly 1/3 of our population relies on our transit system. That's about 900,000 people, unique people, every single week that are out on our transit system. So 900,000 is a big number, and I went to the team and I said, hey, let's put this in real world terms that people can understand. And so, what I'm proud to share is that that's like Taylor Swift selling out 17 concerts at BC Place every single week. That's also a lot of people that got tickets to the Taylor Swift concert that I did not. And so my daughter's very upset about that. But we are seeing very strong ridership in communities really across the region. And I have to say, notably here in Surrey, as well as Langley and White Rock, we have seen our largest year-over-year ridership increases, up 22% from this time last year. And with Surrey growing by 1,200 people every month, I'm sure this comes really as no surprise to many of you here. But I think we know that excellent ridership recovery isn't just because of growth, right? It's also, I think, in large part because of excellent customer service that we provide on our system. And so from ensuring that our customers know where to go with our new community transit volunteer program, or being out in the community participating in cultural celebrations like Vaisakhi and Lunar New Year, and even bringing some fun back to the system. You may have seen, we just released earlier this week some elf compass cards. I didn't bring any with me, okay? Everyone's like, well, where are they, Kevin? Or pop-up dance performances, right? We try to bring fun and delight to the system as well every single day. But we're also very aware of one of the biggest impacts to our customer experience, and that's safety. And I really wanted to talk about this head on because the safety and security of our customers is our #1 priority. And we're committed to doing our part to make our region and our system as safe as possible. I do want to recognize and thank Chief Suzanne Muir for being here, who's the Chief of Transit Police. So Suzanne, thank you so much for being here, Chief. Yeah. Most folks don't know that TransLink is the only transportation agency in Canada with its own dedicated police service, and that not only oversees our system, but also works closely with a lot of the communities that we serve. This year, we launched a safety campaign really highlighting our 877777 text number. If you don't know about it, Tell your friends, tell your family. I talk to my kids about it a lot. And what that allows you to do is you can use that text number to provide real-time assistance with transit police. It can put you in a real-time chat with a police dispatcher that can get people out to help you if you're not feeling safe. Transit police have also several specialty teams that I want to highlight to ensure that, situations that they run into are met with the most appropriate response. And so they have 6 neighborhood police officers, a mental health liaison, and an Indigenous liaison. A program I'm really also very excited about is Transit Police are also rolling out their new Community Safety Officer program, which will look to deploy peace officers across the system specialized in crisis de-escalation. So we've got about 10 of those officers out there on the system now. Another 10 are in training, and they'll be hiring another 4. So when all is said and done, that's 24 additional people that are out on the system providing a really good presence, which we know our customers really want to see. So, I've highlighted just a few of the many safety initiatives that we deploy, and we really try to take a very multi-pronged approach to ensure that our customers really do feel safe across our entire system. With a mission to connect communities and deliver really excellent customer service for all, it's really our job to ensure that transit is accessible and that it's inclusive. And as part of this work, something I'm just incredibly proud of, we've recently completed installing Braille signage at all 8,400 bus stops across our region, as well as installation of raised tactile walking strips at all bus stops on TransLink property. That's a big step in the right direction for accessibility. The fact is that making transit accessible for everyone is also about ensuring that we recognize our region is just so incredibly diverse. And to this end, we've ramped up our travel training program, which helps everyone, but particularly newcomers to the region, help them feel comfortable and safe using the system. This year alone, we've helped train more than 3,000 people to use our buses and our trains. And for those who need access to really vital transit information in a language other than English, we now offer translated customer service information in over 300 languages at our call center. And I'm also pleased to share that starting this winter, signage for our quarterly service changes will now direct customers to translated information with those updates. At TransLink, we're really all about connecting people and really creating a more welcoming region. And everyone who uses our system, from customers to employees, really believes this, I think really represents this. And I have to say, I think that's something that makes TransLink very, very special in this region. It has a special role to play. Our team has put together a really nice short video that really outlines the story of a newcomer. And as we know in Surrey, newcomers arrive every single day. And so often, TransLink, we're the first connection when they arrive. That's a nice little video, right? Yeah, I think, I often rehearse for these types of things with my wife and kids, and it's great to show them this video. I think it resonates with a lot of folks because many of us are newcomers, right? I came to this region 2.5 years ago, and I'll just tell you, even the CEO needs help learning the system, right? And so, I don't know, that story, it just really resonates with me because whether it's welcoming new customers to our system, like the young woman that we met in the video, or welcoming back customers that have been with us for decades, we are creating a more connected, accessible, and a more welcoming region. I've got to say, though, that for us, in some ways, it's not really a choice, but it's very much a necessity. And that's because Metro Vancouver is experiencing some very, very significant growth. With more residents moving to this region every single day. Our region was projected to welcome 50,000 new residents each year, but over the last 2 years, we've exceeded this forecast and reached about 77,000 more people annually. And I've got to say, a lot of this growth we know is coming to Surrey. And the most recent census shows that 7% of newcomers are moving here, and in total, 45% of Surrey's population are immigrants. To me, this highlights a few things. It highlights not just how welcoming this community is, but how much opportunity there is here too. Of course, it's also transit that's connecting a lot of these folks to opportunities in the region. And of the new commuters that are coming to this region, about half are choosing transit as their primary mode of transportation. Now, this unprecedented regional growth and strong ridership, that's welcome news for us, right? But it has also created some pretty significant challenges. And I know that a lot of you are feeling it and hearing about it here in Surrey. So I want to talk about overcrowding for a second, because across our system, including here in Surrey, customers are becoming increasingly frustrated with overcrowding and being passed up by full buses. There is 60 to 70% more bus overcrowding system-wide than this time last year, and it is now worse today on every day of the week than it was back in fall of 2019. In fact, you don't have to look far to see buses regularly packed to capacity with passengers standing. In fact, 4 out of 5 of TransLink's most overcrowded routes are in Surrey. For example, on the 323, which connects Newton Exchange to Surrey Central Station, roughly half of weekday peak direction trips are overcrowded. And, here's the thing. We know that customers expect that TransLink would recognize this to quickly add more buses, right, to mitigate this overcrowding. But the fact is that due to a lack of funding, we can't. We're simply unable to add buses at this time. We can't do this. And we know that this leaves customers absolutely understandably frustrated. Know that I am very frustrated by this as well. The reality is that expansion came to a grinding halt when the pandemic hit, and we're now starting to really see the consequences of investment falling behind our region's growth. And particularly south of the Fraser, which saw exponential growth during the pandemic as many people moved out of the downtown Vancouver core. And we know that this is a problem. Now, if nothing were to change, overcrowding would be about 6 times worse over the next 2 years in Surrey. 6 times worse. And that is a reality that I know that none of us want to see. Now, I know as I've shared these pretty tough realities with you, you're thinking to yourselves, so what are you going to do about it, Kevin, right? What's TransLink going to do about this? And so to address these challenges, we have made strategic investments in Surrey with the resources that we do have. Since April of 2020, TransLink has increased service to Surrey by 22%. That's more than any other area in our region. We've nearly doubled service hours on the 310. Routes 640 and the 322 have both seen increases of over 75%. And on the 323 that I just spoke about, service hours have more than doubled. And on the 323 specifically, I know that route is still experiencing challenges. And I do want to share that on Monday, we'll be announcing that we have worked very closely with the City of Surrey to introduce 60-foot articulated buses on most trips on the 323 as part of our winter service changes. That will provide 60% more capacity on that route. So we're really excited about that change. Further, I've got to say we're making excellent progress that I'm sure you've all seen and been impacted by on Scott Road. That's our new, very highly anticipated R6 rapid bus that will run along Scott Road. That's our 4th busiest corridor in the region, by the way, and that will connect with Newton Exchange. Launching in the new year, the R6 will offer 20% more capacity for our customers and will be 20% faster than existing service. So we're super excited about that. Of course, we're also gearing up to expand SkyTrain by a historic 27% with the introduction of the Surrey-Langley SkyTrain in 2028, as well as the Broadway subway in 2026. SLS is the first rapid transit expansion south of the Fraser in 30 years and will provide connections for customers across the region. Major construction on that project is expected to begin next year, and I know the City of Surrey has already started some important pre-work on that project. Once complete, the SLS will transform transit for commuters south of the Fraser, moving an estimated 62,000 people each day by 2035. Over the last 5 years, we've also significantly invested in municipal infrastructure in Surrey, totaling $117 million. A few notable projects we've invested in include Surrey's City Centre Protected Cycling Network, making cycling really safer and encouraging more residents to cycle. Improvements in road widening along 64th Ave will improve traffic flow, improve road safety, and prepare for future growth. And sidewalk improvements along 82nd Ave to support better access and to improve safety. Now, just like it's been incredibly difficult for housing, school, and hospital infrastructure to keep up with Surrey's growth, we've come a long way. But I'll be the first to say that it still is not enough. Surrey and other areas across the region are hungry for more transit, and I've got to say, for TransLink's part, we're eager to deliver. The map on screen shows you just some of the areas around the region where we have heard those demands for more transit service. Here in Surrey, for example, we know that there are growing industrial areas. They want to expand, but know that transit service is absolutely key to their ability to attract employees. I want you to know that we do hear you, and we're doing what we can with the resources that we have until we can secure additional funding. And to that end, I want to assure you that we do have a plan, right? We do have a plan to address the region's problems, including here in Surrey. Our 10-year Access for Everyone plan is our proposal for expanding transportation infrastructure for transit users, for drivers, for cyclists and pedestrians, to reduce congestion, tackle the climate emergency, and really keep this region moving. We think that it really does respond to the region's rapid growth and will really ensure that customers aren't packed in or passed up by full buses. With this plan, we're looking to strategically invest in 170 kilometers of new rapid transit, as well as big things like doubling bus service, improving and increasing our Handy Dart service to be 24/7, and increasing funding for active transportation infrastructure by 10 times, plus building 450 kilometers of new traffic-separated cycling paths. And, I will say, for the first time, introducing bus rapid transit. Bus rapid transit, or BRT, is a new approach to rapid transit in our region. It's a high-frequency service with dedicated lanes and rail-like stations. And in particular, these buses will be able to carry more customers. We'll have things like transit signal priority to travel faster and more efficiently along the corridor, really helping passengers to breeze past traffic. We'll have rail-like stations that'll be designed to support fast and convenient boarding with real-time information, just like SkyTrain. And while I know that light rail transit, LRT, is a technology that's been considered and talked about a good bit here in Surrey, we do think that BRT is the best solution to address our region's growing problems and get new rapid transit service on the road as soon as possible. BRT would be less expensive and can be implemented in more places and faster than LRT or SkyTrain. And simply put, what we've really heard from residents, from riders, is that we need quick solutions now, that there's a climate emergency now, there's an affordability crisis now. And so what people want are solutions we can roll out quickly, and we think BRT really delivers that. Work on BRT is already underway, and the first rapid transit corridors to be prioritized over the next 3 years are along King George Boulevard, where BRT will connect Surrey and White Rock. Another corridor will be from Langley to Maple Ridge along 200th Street and over TransLink's Golden Ears Bridge, as well as from Metrotown to Park Royal, securing a rapid transit connection to and from the North Shore. I want to focus for a second on King George Boulevard, because that will improve access to transit and will really build upon the success of the existing R1 King George Rapid Bus. That'll connect really key town centers and other growth areas, while also giving more people access to SkyTrain, including the new Surrey-Langley SkyTrain. I do want to thank the City of Surrey and Mayor Locke for their really early support of BRT. You know, we really focused on and really look at support from local governments as a big push for these projects and moving them forward. I also do want to, thank Anita and the Surrey Board of Trade for also really recognizing the importance of rapid transit on this corridor, but also recognizing that corridors like King George Boulevard will potentially need a higher level of transit service in the future, right? There's a lot of people on that corridor. And that is why in our 10-year plan, we do talk about rolling out BRT as a short-term initial solution, while giving us the time to study the potential for a future grade-separated solution. Now, I'm a planner, and I love maps. And so this is a map that I love. I'd put this up everywhere if I could. And I'll say there are several factors that really contributed to us prioritizing the 3 corridors that I just went through. But one that I'd really like to focus on is increasing access to opportunities and access to jobs across the region. And so what this map is showing you is how many more jobs just one BRT route down King George Boulevard in Surrey will unlock. It will unlock up to 100,000 more jobs within a 60-minute commute. If that isn't a game changer, I don't really know what is, right? That makes jobs in South Surrey, in Vancouver, in Burnaby, in New West far more accessible. Access to transit also reduces the financial burden on families as they spend less on commuting. We know that owning a car is often a family's second largest expense, and that by choosing transit, individuals can save around $6,000 per year. It's clear that in order to solve our region's housing crisis and to support a thriving economy, we have to acknowledge transit's ability to open the door to affordable housing and growth. The reality is that without really good transportation, our region could come to a grinding halt. I want you to think about all the cars that are on the road today, the congestion that you encounter today. And I want you to now think about it a year from now and what that looks like potentially with 70,000 more cars on the road. And now think about the year 2050. And now there's 1 million more people living in our region. I mean, just imagine it, right? And think about the investment that we have to make to keep up with growth. That type of growth in our region can have such a significant impact on the movement of goods, on the supply chain, on how people move around the region, on the economy, if we can't match transit investments with growth. The fact is that good transportation is so central to addressing some of our region's most pressing issues, serving as a catalyst for affordable housing and a thriving economy. We know that transit expansion supports urban renewal projects, it revitalizes neighborhoods, and it supports healthy communities. The reality is that accessibility does equal affordability, and close access to public transit ensures that residents can stay connected to job opportunities, educational institutions, and essential services, really no matter where they live in the region. And I want to just give one example of this, TransLink Surrey Central. That's a great example where that's an area that has seen some very significant growth in housing and economic expansion. And in fact, since 2017, 1,700 new homes were built around Surrey Central. And not surprisingly, This has resulted in a surge in ridership. Boardings at this station are up 30% over 2017 levels, alleviating congestion, taking cars off the road, and getting people where they need to go around the region. I want to note that we're not the only ones to recognize the importance of transit when it comes to affordable housing. As many of you know, the province has introduced legislation encouraging communities to build housing in areas designated as transit hubs, providing up to 100,000 new homes near designated transit areas over the next decade. Bill 43 underscores a principle that we know works well across Surrey. Building housing near transit just works. All this being said, we know that expanding transit and even just maintaining the great service that we have out there today can come at a cost. And to deliver the first phase of Access for Everyone, we need about $2.8 billion in capital investment. But we also need to reimagine how we pay for transit in this region. An issue that we've been raising for quite some time is that our current funding model directly impacts our ability to expand services. We can no longer rely on the fuel tax with the rise of electric vehicles and more energy and fuel-efficient vehicles. That is a declining revenue source, and it is not coming back. Further, inflation has had an unexpected impact on us. In short, cost pressures on fuel, labor, parts, materials are up for us the same reason they're up for everybody else in this room today. And finally, we have historically relied on fare revenues, and although our ridership has rebounded, we still face a shortfall of about 20% or more in our fare revenues. And without a new funding model, we will face an annual revenue shortfall of $600 million per year starting in 2026. That's about 30% of our annual revenues. Simply put, we need a better and more sustainable way to fund transit. And I'm confident that we will find a solution. I think we all know that now is not the time to stop investing in transit. Now is not the time to stop the expansion of transit. Just as we invest in hospitals and in schools, we have to ensure that our transit system prepares for that continued growth we know is coming. I want to close just by highlighting a word that I've said, I think, some 15 or 20 times now during this talk, and that is the word growth, right? And there may not be a word more synonymous with Surrey right now. While I've spoken about the challenges that growth presents, I do want to end by speaking to the enormous opportunity that is in front of us all here today. We're welcoming more than 1 million new residents to our region over the next decade, and we have the chance to really shape that growth, to really build the region, build Surrey to what we aspire to be, right? That's a big opportunity in front of us. TransLink is vital to the prosperity of our region, and TransLink will be at the heart of this change. We remain so committed to ensuring the 900,000 people who use our system every single week get great service. But we also have to continue to work with all levels of government to ensure that we can meet the growth too. We simply cannot stop investing in our system. And I want to assure you today that we are committed to continuing to invest here in Surrey. We're in the business of connecting Metro Vancouverites across the region to the people and to the places that matter most. I've got to say, I've been in this role for 2.5 years now, and I'm really proud of the work that we've done. I talk about Surrey a lot, every single day, and the needs that are in Surrey and the changes that we need to make. And I'm very proud of the work that we've done to reallocate all that bus service to Surrey. I'm proud of the work that's being done on the Surrey-Langley SkyTrain. I'm proud of the work that's being done on the R6 Scott Road Rapid Bus. The over $100 million in infrastructure projects that we've worked with the city of Surrey on. I'm proud of that, right? And I think it's okay to say on one hand, hey, we're doing great things. We've made some great progress in Surrey. I want you to know that on the other hand, I also recognize there is so much more to be done. And TransLink for us as an organization, we don't sit here saying, hey, we're good, we're done here, we can take off, right? No, there is so much more work to be done to meet the needs of Surrey. We know that there's significant overcrowding out there and that there are areas that we either aren't serving today or that we're serving very poorly. And over the past few years, the fact is that Surrey has grown at just tremendous rates. And the fact is that TransLink, for our part, between our funding model and rising costs, we haven't been able to keep up with that growth. We have not grown at the same rate that Surrey has grown. You know, we have a lot of work ahead of us, but I really do believe we have a clear path to achieve our goals and secure a sustainable future as we look to welcome thousands of new customers and new connections. I also just want to finish up here. I really want to thank Anita and the Surrey Board of Trade, as well as the Richmond Chamber of Commerce, for taking action this week and really publicly calling on the federal government to accelerate the implementation of the Permanent Transit Fund to begin in 2024. That's a federal government program that's set to start in 2026. Our position is, and the Surrey Board of Trade's position, I think, is a good one, which says, hey, 2026 is way too long. We need to accelerate that and start that in 2024 based on the growth that we're seeing today. And, you know, Anita, I've got to say, you know, you had a quote in your release, you know, without efficient transportation, economic growth and the capacity for innovation will fail. I think it's a really important quote, and I couldn't agree with you more. And it's voices like yours and really great partners like the Surrey Board of Trade and, in fact, all of you here in this room today really taking part in a regional conversation that I think will help us achieve our ambitious plan, because we know that we can really only get there by working together. Thank you so much for being here. Really looking forward to the Q&A. Thanks.
We're going to move to the question period, and for media, you can ask your questions after the event is over, so this is for guests only. If you do have a question, please go to the microphone, state your name, your company name, and your question very, very briefly. We are recording today's event as well. It'll be shared on our social media channels as well. But I'd just like to start off with the first question.
Sure.
We know that housing, transportation, land use, all of that is aligned. In the waterfall housing legislation that came down from the BC government, what is your perspective on the challenges of all of these decisions made by the BC government, and how can TransLink work with all of these local governments in our region to make it work?
Yeah. Well, we've seen a slew of legislation come out, and I've got to say we're still, I think, like many municipalities, still trying to wrap our heads around it. I see Mayor Locke is shaking her head, right? We're still trying to get our heads around it, right? It's been a lot of different bills and legislation that have come out, and I guess I would just say, conceptually, like increasing density and housing around transit is really important for our region. We know that we need to do that, and in fact, our supportive policy agreements that we have with the City of Surrey and the City of Langley and Township of Langley, outline the need for more density around big projects like the Surrey-Langley SkyTrain, right? I'd say for our part at TransLink, as we talk about things like transit-oriented development, that's great to focus on development and to be sure that the development is done as best as possible, as dense as possible, create as much housing as possible. That's, I think, conceptually a good thing. The T in transit-oriented development is transit. And so if we do not have a transit system that has stable funding in the long run, that density is just going to result in more overcrowded buses and people who can't get to where they need to go, right? Like there's big things like reducing parking minimums, eliminating parking minimums, right? That has big impacts on the transit service. And so while I think we look upon that legislation favorably, I think for us it just makes us say, hey, let's not forget the T in TOD, right? Let's not forget the transit piece of it and the need to solve for long-term funding.
To the microphone, please.
Hello, my name is Akshay. I'm with Unity. My question is regarding HandyDart. Like, if TransLink operates with HandyDart, why we can't use our disability pass on HandyDart? And also what is TransLink doing about inclusive employment, like hiring people with disability? So these are my kind of questions.
Yeah, I think it's a great question. So we do operate HandyDart service.
Yeah.
In terms of the pass, I can't speak to why that's not used on there. I'm happy to look into that and get back to you on an answer on that. I've got to say, it is a real focus of ours, though, to hire individuals with disabilities. And David spoke earlier that we sit on the President's Group, which is an organization that's very focused on creating accessible workplaces and hiring individuals with disability. And in fact, our organization, so TransLink at our corporate headquarters, we're going through our Scott Hansen certification right now and making upgrades to our facility. So, we've got to both have the recruitment policies and procedures in place to bring on people with disabilities, as well as have the environment that's going to support them when they're there.
I was like when you, I have seen CRA and stuff rolling out some programs and saying out, especially for person with disability, and they're looking, I want TransLink to do that kind of programs and stuff.
Okay.
I never seen that yet.
Okay. Let me look further into that, and maybe we can get some staff to get your contact information, and we can loop back with you on that.
Sure.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Next.
Absolutely.
Hi, Kevin Scott Wheatley, Cloverdale
Hi,
District
Scott.
Chamber of Commerce.
Good to see
My
you.
question is, what can we as business owners and business organizations do to help you get the money that you need?
Sure. So, the main thing you can do is, work with us to advocate for more service. I think, you and I have talked many times, and I think that our desire is to certainly provide more transit service, and we know that there are so many needs out there that are not being met. I guess a few things. In the short term, we are looking at, we've been advocating to the provincial and federal governments for investments in 2024, right? And whether that's the purchase of buses, investments in bus depots, investments in BRT, as well as helping us think through a new funding model. All of these pieces and the advocacy really helps to make that case known. So working with us to advocate, I think is a key piece to success. So there's sort of this short-term piece, there's the long-term funding piece. I will say that, with Surrey Langley SkyTrain coming on board, that will essentially free up some resources for us to do some creative things with the bus system. I know that's a long ways off, and so you hear that and you say, Kevin, I need help today. I don't need help 5 years from now, right? So I think, for our part, continuing to advocate for those capital projects, maybe some short-term operating funds would allow us to roll out service to areas like yours that we know need it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Lori Mayhew. I'm the Secretary-Treasurer of Move Up. There's many questions I have around lots of things at TransLink. You may not be aware, you probably are though, we just got a tentative agreement as of yesterday, so we're really pleased about that.
We are too.
But on a personal note, so I live in North Delta, and I hear when Surrey Langley SkyTrain is done, it's going to take 90 minutes to get from Waterfront to Langley City. It takes me 90 minutes by transit to get from North Delta to the ferry terminal. And you talked about, when this is done, it'll free up buses.
Yep.
And we hear that a lot. The beautiful gondola that's proposed for Simon Fraser is going to free up buses. And those are all long-term solutions. And I didn't hear anything about how we're going to move sideways across municipalities, because it is really still a star-based system, getting people into the center.
Yep.
And do you have any insight into that?
Sure, yeah. So many transportation systems and many transit systems, let me back up. There's been, over the last several decades, a real shift in philosophy. You talked about like the stars. I think what you're getting at is sort of this, what I call like an all roads lead to Rome, right, type of an approach. And if you look at transit systems, many of them have that. They take down towns, and it's just everything kind of feeds into them, right? And what we've really seen is the emergence of multiple town centers with a lot of density. And so there's now this great need that we have to connect those centers to move, what was your word, parallel? To move across, right? To have those types of connections. And so in our Access for Everyone plan, it's unfunded, right? One of the things that we would look to roll out are those connecting services. So how we connect city centers. We don't just feed everything into city centers, but go into outlying areas. I want to note that one area that we want to pay particular emphasis on and pay particular attention to is around shift workers, right? So we know that there's early mornings and late nights where we're not running enough service. We're just not. And what we could do with some initial operating funds, if the provincial or federal governments were so inclined, is we could use our existing fleet to roll that out pretty immediately. I don't mean to keep taking it back to funding, but the fact is that we essentially fall off a bit of a fiscal cliff starting in the beginning of 2026. And so we don't sit here with an ability to expand services now and essentially make that fiscal cliff even larger and a harder problem to solve in the long run. But I think what you're getting at is a need for not just services that go into downtown cores, but that go across the region and connect the region in multiple ways. Part of our Access for Everyone plan includes things like doubling local bus service. People think about doubling local bus service. Yes, part of that is serving new areas that we don't serve today. Yes, part of that is during non-peak times rolling out service. Part of that is also increasing the frequent transit network. So, a big part of getting people out of cars is providing transit at a frequency that allows them to rely on the bus without a schedule. And generally that's been shown at 15 minutes or better frequencies, right? When you can just go to a bus stop and it's going to come within a few minutes, right? So what if we took all those 15-minute frequencies we have today and we made them every 6 or 7 minutes? Part of doubling local bus service is making more of the region, giving it better access to frequent transit, things like that. So I hear you. We've got to meet those needs, connect those areas. Thanks.
Hello, thank you very much for the great presentation. My name is Ramona Captain. I'm with the Canadian Association of Retired Persons, known as CARP. I'm also on the Transportation Committee with the Surrey Board of Trade. And what we always ask is, please have older adults at planning tables. Just recently, I gave you a letter that was written to the Minister of Transportation in British Columbia. And when I spoke to him recently, he said, oh, well, older adults, seniors, can travel in off-peak hours. Well, that's rather ageist, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Many of us still work, and many of us have appointments, doctor's appointments. Now, try and tell your doctor that you only want an appointment during off-peak hours. It's not exactly possible. Sure. So please have a look at the letter that I have given you that was written to the BC Minister of Transportation. I realize that there are a lot of problems with finances, with money. Where does money come from to install more washrooms and have better facilities we don't all take handy-dart. We don't need handy-dart. So it's the regular transit system that is really important to us. So I thank you very much, and we look forward to a really good relationship. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think that's a great comment. I'll just, I'll note that, seniors and I'll also say students are two groups that we know we need to do more with and that we need to form better partnerships with. And so I really look forward to reaching out. Let's set something up. We'll get together. Thank you.
Hello, Yaroslav Shapko, Sheraton Vancouver Guildford Hotel. First of all, thank you for the great presentation. And as a resident of Guildford and also the one working in Guildford, just wanted to check if there's any plan regarding the 104 corridor. I know there's been plans for the light rail, and then there's been planned for the SkyTrain. But is there anything else besides the R1 bus that we're currently using for expansion and getting more business our way here in Guildford? Thank you.
Sitting here today, we're just looking at the R1. I don't think there's anything additional. I'm looking at the team. I don't believe so without the full details of the plan in front of me. The R1, though, is really critical. I took the R1 to go meet with Anita in the Surrey Board of Trade a few weeks ago. That's a great service. I think we need to ramp it up a little bit. Even those frequencies sometimes aren't enough to carry the passengers that we have. And I think what you're getting at is the capacity of that line, right? Even running the buses at the frequencies that we have, those big buses, sometimes isn't enough. And so I do know that that's a corridor that we've looked at to increase the frequencies on, given the passenger loads that we are seeing out there. Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Hi, Kevin. Pardon me. My name's Karen Klein. I'm with ICBC Road Safety, and between myself and Joanne Bergman, we share Surrey, and we do a lot of our local activities here in Surrey. So we actually spend a lot of time at a lot of the transit hubs, particularly this time of year, communicating with pedestrians how to stay safe when going from buses to, from a bus to the SkyTrain, things like that, with our reflectors. And we're out there with our volunteers, with the RCMP members, as well as the transit police, and we're there quite often. And I don't know if this is really a question, but more maybe a suggestion, is we've seen a lot of those really big lineups for those buses kind of wrapping around the SkyTrain. And is there a way that we can help you reduce the frustration level of your customers by a lot of this information? The presentation was very insightful, and it was very exciting to know how much change is happening in Surrey and increased service. So perhaps if you have something that we can help, when we're having conversations with your riders, maybe it's something with a small QR code, or is it housed on your website somewhere? Places where we can direct your riders to find this information of the great things that are coming, so that they can start to feel a little bit of relief is on the horizon. So
absolutely.
Keep us in mind. We're able to share that.
I think that's a great idea. I'm looking over at my team over there saying, let's do that.
Perfect.
I think,
okay.
right?
Awesome.
It's like I hear that, and I just kind of look over there, and, and we try to make it happen.
Thank you for the presentation. That was
Sure.
great information.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Kevin, I just wanted to ask, around the world, there's models around private-public sector funding for transportation infrastructure. I understand, that's a revolutionary change here locally, but is that being explored? Can that be considered to do what is needed to be done?
Yeah. When you say that, do you mean infrastructure, or how do you any way under the sun?
Any infrastructure. So just take, for example, we want to build light rail in Surrey. And
I've heard this before somewhere.
And we want a private sector partner that's a foreign investor, and they want to partner with government. Is it possible?
Hey, I think we're open to anything, right? I think anything's on the table. We've seen some different models of different scale regarding private investment. The Canada line is a really big example, right? It's a full P3, continues to be operated today by a contractor, and so that's a big version. I'd say there's some smaller versions. So Capstan Station in Richmond is one where we partnered with the city of Richmond and with the private developer in the area who contributed towards the station infrastructure itself. Really reducing the burden on TransLink and on the city of Richmond. There's also partnerships out there with local businesses where, is there a way to partner with businesses where, they provide the people to operate it and we provide the vehicles, right? Like, there's lots of different ways to do those types of things. And I would say, we're at a position where it's all available. It's all on the table. We're open to lots of different forms of those private partnerships. In a time of the kind of fiscal constraints that we have right now, I think we have an obligation to be creative and to look at those types of creative solutions. So absolutely. And if you want to, if there's interest, if you want to convene a series of meetings or convene this group to get together, I'm happy to participate in that with our team to hear what ideas this group might have.
Very good.
Yeah.
Any final remarks?
No, I want to thank you all so much for being here. I hope this was informative. Really appreciate all your support. Surrey is incredibly important to us, and we're going to continue our commitment to investment in Surrey. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Kevin. And thank you so much to ICBC, our presenting sponsor tonight. For media that want to interview Kevin, you can just go near the Christmas tree. There'll be a media scrum. And everyone, make it a great business day. Thank you so much.
Is that okay?